In today's video, we are going to review for you the Leupold BX-2 Alpine binoculars. These are a really nice set of binoculars. They're in the $250 price point, and if you're going to spend a little bit bigger on binoculars, they have the best image quality of, we tested a lot of them, and we got the best image quality from these.
That's absolutely right. So image quality is obviously like number one in an optic, but there's even more to it that I'm really loving about this thing. We talk on all the binoculars about just build quality. This is a very sturdy, solidly built. It's got a good, I'm scratching this with my nail, nothing's happening. It's kind of a rubberized, rugged coating on it. So, build on this thing's good. It is waterproof. Most of them are. So just solid. But
it looks a lot like the Vortex.
A lot. It's just
when
the black.
Put it next
version.
to it, it's like they do gray and Vortex does the green. Then we saw the same thing when we reviewed the Vortex and Leupold rangefinders. I don't know who's copying who, or if they use the same manufacturer or something. But I'm telling you, they are weirdly similar.
Yes. It's interesting because the bodies are weirdly similar on both, but some of the other things are different, the optics specifically. So they're obviously using their own kind of proprietary formation for the optics. But, just again, in terms of use, it's just solid.
Somebody's copying somebody. It's too similar.
These are in a 10 by 42, which is honestly a pretty good.
And that's interesting, the 10, because all the manufacturers just say, it's 10x, for your magnification. But what does that actually mean? So to really know just how small of a thing can we make big, we actually want to look at the angular field of view. But even that number we found to be manipulated between them, that they'd say, whatever, 300 feet at 1,000 yards, whatever, will fill your view, or whatever the number was. But with the binoculars, the Leupolds, we did find to be just slightly, just a hair, more magnified than any of the other 10x binoculars.
In fact, it was interesting because a couple of the cheap ones we reviewed were actually 12 by 42s. And the 12s were like maybe slightly, if any, more magnified than the 10s. And this was as magnified as any of the 12s.
Right.
And so
it's really interesting.
Like, I would not take this and then take a cheap 12 and say, well, the 12 must be better. It's going to be bigger.
Right.
It won't actually probably be bigger.
So optically, there was a little bit of a color cast in it. When you looked at everything, and we look at one binocular, look at another, you look weird with like,
one in each eye. We did that.
But there's a little bit of a yellow color cast to everything. It's
very slight.
You won't notice it if you're only looking through these, but if you really cared about that and you're comparing it to others, there is a warm color cast.
And yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, the important point here is like from a functional, realistic use perspective, you're probably never going to notice. And, that's also kind of true with just the optical quality. This does have better optics than the other ones we tested. And when we say that, what we mean is like, even though it has that little bit of a color cast, like the sharpness, the clarity of the objects you're looking at was better in this. And at a distance, that could play a role in, being able to see what you want to see.
So if you were to take a step down, you want to save $100, our recommendation for a lower price point would be these from Carson's, the BAK4s, that we'll also link to in the description. I can't express to you how close these things are to this that are $100 more expensive. I mean, they are just so similar. If you didn't have them right next to each other to be comparing, there's no way you could tell which optic you were looking through. They're very, very sharp, nice contrast. But if you were to go like this, you would say, just a hair better, right? And so that's definitely one you should consider is the Carson, because you are saving $100. And the build quality, I actually think, is just a hair better on these Carsons. I like that it's slightly more rubberized. It feels a little bit tougher. The focus knob just is really nicely designed. The build I would actually prefer on the Carson. The optical quality is just so slightly better on the Leupold.
Oh man, and isn't that just like super interesting? Because when I think about optics, and I think, oh, I'm going to go buy a really nice optic. What are the brand names that I'm thinking of, right? And right now, today, I'm thinking, maybe Leupold. Definitely Vortex is on the list. There's some other really high-end ones. Styrka might make the list now. Carson isn't even on my radar.
It's not,
right?
Yeah.
And I think that is the difference in the price between these. It's not about the quality of the optic. It's not about the quality of the build. I think it's a name recognition thing.
I think
Leupold,
so.
Everybody expects to pay more, and they buy it because they know Leupold optics are solid, good optics, and they are. And Carson is maybe just trying to make a name for themselves.
So we're having the debate ourselves. Like, which one are we going to keep? Which one do we return to the store?
Do we keep these two and one of us carries the slightly better one? And, honestly, we're at the point where we're like, should probably return this one and buy a second one of these.
Right. It's a tough call. So anyway, that's our review. Backfire is your channel for guns, shooting, hunting, all that kind of stuff. And so give us a subscribe and a like. We're doing these very in-depth reviews all the time. And check out our larger review where we filled this table with a whole bunch of binoculars to show just the very best stuff.